That bare patch in your yard has probably been there for more than one season. No matter how many times you've tossed grass seed onto it, watered it, and waited, the spot stays thin, brown, and impossible to ignore. Sprinkling seed on hard, dry soil rarely works, no matter how much you use or how often you try. The real fix takes a little more effort than a handful of seed and a hopeful rain, but it doesn't require special tools, expensive products, or an entire weekend. First, understand why the grass died there. Repairing a patch without addressing the cause usually means it will return. Common culprits include grub damage, white larvae that chew grass roots just below the surface. If the turf lifts like loose carpet when you tug, grubs are likely. Pet urine is another frequent cause. The nitrogen in urine burns grass down to the roots, leaving a dead circle surrounded by a ring of darker, greener grass. Heavy foot traffic compacts soil over time, squeezing out the tiny air pockets that roots need, and this shows up most often along paths to a mailbox, gate, or shed. Sometimes something sits just beneath the surface, an old stump, buried rocks, or a filled-in anthill, raising the ground enough that a mower blade scalps the grass each time you cut over it. Thick thatch, the spongy layer of dead grass and roots that builds up at soil level, can also choke healthy grass by blocking water and nutrients. Deep shade from trees or a fence line thins grass gradually, since most lawn grasses need a fair amount of direct sunlight. Poor drainage creates soggy, water-logged soil that drowns roots after heavy rain, leaving bare ground that won't recover on its own. Identifying the right cause takes a few extra minutes, but the rest of the process works much better once the underlying issue is dealt with. Timing matters for seed germination. If you have a cool season lawn, grasses such as tall fescue, ryegrass, or Kentucky bluegrass that dominate lawns in northern and middle regions, early fall is generally the best time to reseed. The soil is still warm from summer, the air has cooled, and rainfall tends to be more consistent, helping seeds sprout without drying out. Spring is a solid second option for these grasses, though weed competition is higher then. For warm season grasses like Bermuda or zoysia, common in southern states, late spring into early summer is ideal because the soil needs warmth to activate growth. Reseeding in the middle of summer is still possible for either type, but you'll need to water more often as heat and direct sun pull moisture from bare soil and young seedlings faster than cooler weather. Choose the right seed for the patch. Look at the grass that already covers the rest of your yard. Using a different variety will leave a spot with a different color or texture that never truly blends. A standard all-purpose lawn mix works fine for a typical sunny yard. If the bare spot sits under a tree or along a shaded fence line, select a shady, tolerant blend because regular varieties thin out quickly in low light. Read the label carefully. Seed with a higher germination rate and less filler or weed content will give a thicker, cleaner result, even if it costs a little more. Some bags include starter fertilizer, which gives young grass an early nutrient boost. A separate bag of starter fertilizer works just as well if you already have seed at home. Buy a little more seed than you think you'll need. Running short halfway through the job is far more frustrating than having a bit left over. Prepare the soil thoroughly. Start by clearing out any dead grass, loose stones, twigs, or old roots from the patch, because all of that prevents seed from making good contact with the soil. If the area has a dip from an old stump, a filled-in anthill, or years of settling, Level it with topsoil rather than straight compost. Compost continues to break down and lose volume over time, so a low spot filled only with compost will sink again within a season or two, while topsoil holds its shape better. Spread the topsoil into the dip, then firm it down with your foot or the flat side of a rake until it sits level with the surrounding lawn. Next, take a garden rake and lightly scratch the top inch of soil across the whole patch, loosening it without digging too deep. Grass seed needs loose, broken up soil to settle into, not a hard, compacted surface. The texture doesn't have to be perfect. It just needs enough openness for the seed to take hold. Spread the grass seed evenly across the patch by hand or with a small handheld spreader, aiming for a light, even layer rather than piling seed on thick. Overseeding a small area actually works against you because seedlings will compete for light, water, and space, resulting in thin, weak growth. Feather the seed a little past the edge of the bare spot so the new grass blends into the existing lawn, avoiding a visible line where old and new meet. Cover the seed with a thin layer of topsoil or seed starter mulch, just enough to lightly hide it from view. This layer serves two purposes. It keeps birds from picking the seed off the ground before it can sprout, and it helps retain moisture against the seed instead of letting it dry out in open air. Be careful not to bury the seed too deep, as many grass seeds need some light exposure to germinate. A thick layer can delay or stop germination entirely. After covering, press down gently, either by walking lightly over the area or tamping with the flat side of a rake, so the seed sits firmly against the soil. Then water the area gently using a light mist or fine spray setting, not a strong stream. Heavy water pressure will wash the seed into clumps or carry it off the patch. For the first week or two, keep the top layer of soil consistently damp, not soaked. This usually means watering once or twice a day, depending on how hot and dry the conditions are. Letting the seed dry out even once during this early stage can kill tender young roots before they have a chance to establish, so stay diligent, especially during a hot summer stretch. How long it takes to see results depends on the grass type. Ryegrass can show green in as little as 5 to 10 days. Tall fescue usually takes closer to 1 to 2 weeks, and slower growing types like Kentucky bluegrass or zoysia can take anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks before noticeable progress. Once the first green shoots appear, you can ease off the frequent light watering and shift toward watering less often but more deeply. Deeper watering encourages roots to grow further down into the soil rather than staying shallow and dependent on constant surface moisture. After the grass sprouts, the next steps determine whether the patch fills in for good or thins out again. Hold off on mowing until the new grass reaches about 3 to 3.5 inches tall. When you do mow for the first time, use a sharp blade and set the mower deck on its highest setting. A dull blade or low cut can pull seedlings straight out of the ground. Keep foot traffic, pets, and equipment off the new grass for at least a few weeks, as young roots have not anchored deeply enough to handle pressure. Avoid weed killer products for several weeks as well, because most of them will either stop new seed from germinating or damage tender seedlings that have just emerged. Check any product label and wait until you have mowed the area several times before applying anything. Feeding the new grass helps it fill in and thicken faster. A starter fertilizer applied at planting time, followed by irregular feeding once the grass is established, supplies the roots and blades with the nutrients they need to spread. Equally important is addressing the original cause of the bare patch, whether that means treating grubs, fixing a drainage problem, aerating compacted soil, diluting pet urine spots before they burn the grass, or adjusting your mowing height over a buried mound so the blade stops scalping the same spot each time. The underlying issue must be resolved. It also helps to overseed thin areas across the whole lawn once a year as routine maintenance, rather than waiting until a spot goes completely bare. A consistently thick lawn crowds out weeds and resists new bare spots far better than a thin one does. Skipping this ongoing care is the main reason a bare patch keeps reappearing in the same place year after year, no matter how many times you reseed. Follow these steps in order, and the bare patch does not have to become a permanent fixture in your yard. Identify the cause, choose the right seed for your lawn and light conditions, prepare the soil properly, seed and cover it correctly, keep it watered consistently, and continue proper care once the grass emerges. Doing all of that will give you solid, thick grass where bare dirt once lay.